Hello and welcome to the shop. Since finishing my loft, I've been working pretty hard on getting the shop back in shape. I've still got a ways to go, so I don't really have a woodworking video for you today, but I thought I would just kind of show some footage I've been shooting around the shop of different things that I've been doing, and just to kind of keep you guys up to date on what's going on. And I probably will do a shop tour once I get everything organized. This shelf is where I keep the majority of the wood that I use in my turning projects as well as my intarsia projects. I really don't know how many species of woods are represented here. It's quite a few, and you'll notice that it's starting to overflow onto the floor. What I want to do is move this shelving unit up to the top of my loft. Now it's far too tall to fit up there, so what I'm going to do is disconnect it right here, turn it into two separate shelving units. I'll move those up to the loft side by side and bolt them together for stability. I'm going to start off by getting a couple of plastic tubs and getting this shelf unloaded, and then we'll get it moved up to the loft. I've got the shelf completely empty, ready to start taking it apart, and I've got the wood removed from the floor as well. Here's a shot of all the wood that was on the shelf. I brought it up to the loft in tubs. Didn't really worry about sorting it, but I was very careful not to make the tub super heavy. That tub, and those two logs were what was on the floor. The rest of this was stored on that shelf. I brought both of my shelf sections up to the loft. On the one on the right, I think I'm going to get some wood and build myself a shelf for the top of that. That way I'll have 6 shelves instead of 5. And then I think I'm going to get some plywood and put on the back of these shelves and bolt it to the rails to give them some stability, number one. And number two, since I'm 3 inches away from the wall over on that side of the loft, I don't want anything going off the back and down off the back of the loft. So I think those 2 items are in order before we put anything on the shelves. I've got some scrap wood here. What I have is 2 sheets of 1/4 inch plywood that's probably roughly 3 foot by 3 foot. And I've got a couple of large sheets of 1/2 inch chipboard. What I'm going to do is take the chipboard and I'm going to double it up to give it some stability, and I'm going to use that to build the top shelf where I'm missing a top shelf, and the 1/4 inch I'm going to cut and mount to the back of the shelves so that the wood doesn't slide off. I've cut these 2 pieces of wood to 35 1/4 by 15 inches. That is the open dimension of my top shelf. My plan is to glue them both together, and once they dry, I'll be able to set this right onto the top of the shelving unit, and I'll show you in a few minutes how I plan to mount them. So I'm going to go ahead right now and get these glued up. I've decided not to spread the glue, and the reason why is there are so many gaps in this press board that the gaps are filling with the glue and it's not leaving much on the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the glue drooled on there, and now we'll go ahead and get these 2 pieces clamped together. I've taken the 1/4 inch plywood and I've cut it to the dimension of 35 inches by 36 inches, which is the dimension of the shelf. My plan is Using these holes that normally are used for shelf adjustment, I've made some blocks of wood. They are 2 inches by 1 inch. My plan is to place them in the brackets of the shelf, and then I'll take a screw and drive it through the plywood into the block, which will hold the back on the shelf. Now that I have my plywood backer attached below the bottom 2 shelves, I need to attach it up top. What I'm going to do is take the brace and I'm going to set the brace, but I'm going to set it exactly 1 inch down inside of each of the leg rails. And the reason for this is, once my shelf, the glue is dry on the shelf that I'm making, I'll be able to set it right in on top of these braces, and that should hold the top shelf in place. Now, because I'll be putting additional weight on the top shelf, I will be driving screws in from the side on these braces as well as from the back. I've got the backer board installed on the first shelf, and I've got the braces installed for the top shelf. All I need to do is install the backer board on the second shelf, and then I'll bolt the 2 of them together, and we'll be ready to go ahead and put all of my turning blanks on both shelves. I've got the backers installed on both shelves. I've got the new shelf installed on the top of the shelf on the right, and the shelves have been bolted together for additional stability. I'm ready now to start loading them up with turning blanks. I thought you might like to see a shot of the shelves as they're starting to fill up. My son and my daughter have been working very hard to organize all of my turning blanks. They still have a couple of bins left to go. That's mostly the small stuff, which will go on the top of these shelves, but I'm really happy with the amount of space that I have up here. Now that I've got the shelving unit gone, it's time to get my scroll saw and the rest of these items moved out of the way, because starting at this post, I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 cabinets and my countertop back against this wall. I've got my anchor cabinet set in place. It's been leveled front to back and left to right. What I need to do now is go ahead and get it attached to the studs in the wall, and then I'll bring the next section over and get that installed. And once all 3 sections are together, I'll lay the countertop on there. I've got my cabinets remounted to the wall. I just finished installing the countertop and putting the drawers back in. It's good to have this back in the shop. Since I've been in this shop, I really haven't had a good place to store all of my clamps. So what I did is I just took a scrap 2x4, bolted it to one of my loft stringers, and now I can attach all of my clamps to it. Thank you for sticking around and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want you to know that my plan is to keep hitting the shop hard, getting it back in shape, because I've got plenty of ideas on woodworking videos and pin videos that I want to put together and share with you guys. So bear with me just a little bit longer, and I'll be back to the regular channel stuff. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon.